You're watching Two Button Crew,
The daily show for Nintendo fans. I don't know what I'm playing over there. I just thought that I'd do something. Did I spit on you?
Our live studio audience.
Yes.
Yep, you can have it back.
All right, thanks. What a way to start off an episode.
A great episode, which was requested by Game Over Jesse. Thanks for being part of the crew.
Yes, thanks for everything that you do for the crew.
What do we think about Nintendo being a third party? It's kind of a hot topic. It comes and goes, but it's definitely a question of the industry. It's a common one. So
it is.
It's good that we'll have a stance on it.
Yes. So, what do you think about Nintendo becoming a third party? What are your thoughts on the subject in general?
Well, I think it's on people's minds because the sales of the Wii U are down. And whenever there are sales down, I think there's some conclusions that are jumped to. Is Nintendo going the way of Sega? And that's because that's the precedent in our industry, is that Sega had a failed console, and the Dreamcast even has some in common with the Wii U because of the screen on the controller.
Yes, that's true.
And people have been drawing a lot of comparisons about that. I mean, more when the Wii U was announced, but ever since it's not done so well, there's been the question: are they going to go third party? And it would be really nice for PlayStation and Xbox gamers to get Nintendo content where they play, because I know a lot of them don't shell out for the secondary console. They choose where they want to support between the two sides of the main hardcore console wars, and that's all that they play. And I mean, those boxes cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They're expensive, so we can't really expect them to get Nintendo things as well. But it'd be super nice if you were able to play Halo and Call of Duty and Mario and Zelda all in the same thing. So I think it would be good for them. But for Nintendo fans, the experience wouldn't really be the same. Nintendo does a fantastic job marrying the hardware and the software. Yeah. Just kind of like Apple does with iOS. iOS wouldn't be the same on an Android phone.
No.
So that's how I feel. How about you?
And I agree with that, and I think that's kind of where I landed, is that Nintendo seems to have their games and their hardware go hand in hand. The controller especially, they're fit to one another, whereas if you have like a third party game on a Nintendo console, usually it's not done as well because specifically of the controller. They have a hard time programming for the controller. It either feels general, like they're not taking advantage of it, or the controls feel clunky because they didn't quite get it worked out. Yeah,
and there's the exception here and there. Like, for example, Lego City Undercover, they took great advantage of that gamepad, but then Nintendo even published that game for the third-party developer. So you see that happening when it's, really fit for the console. Right.
So I think that the refocus on the regular controllers is important for Nintendo. Go back and watch our NX wish list. But I think that innovation is still very much tied to the controller, especially for Nintendo. And I think that going third party completely would mean that we would never get anything new again. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of a pessimistic way of looking at it.
I think an important note here also is Nintendo will not develop or produce a new console until they've had a game idea or concept or experience that can't be done on the current hardware. Right. So that's exactly like you said. The games are so infused with the hardware because of that reason. That's why the hardware exists, is to make new experiences that can't be done on PlayStation and Xbox or Wii U.
I agree.
So if Nintendo did go third party and they partnered with Microsoft or Sony, what would happen to the other one?
So if it was an exclusive deal, then they would win. I mean, seriously, I know that the demographic is very different. I think that's clear, that the people who want the Xbox and PlayStation are different than the people who want the Nintendo console. Yeah. Either that or they're going to get, both, which if they have enough money, they can do that. But if you were to say, oh yeah, PlayStation, Sony has Sony games and Nintendo games, and Microsoft's Xbox console doesn't, and they're never going to get it, then that has damaged Microsoft so badly there that it's over. Well, I mean, it's not over, but there's going to be a huge tip in sales.
Yeah, I agree very much. For example, if Nintendo partnered with Microsoft and the Nintendo games were only available on Xbox, then I think it would give Microsoft a huge leg up over Sony. I think that the competitor, Sony, would adapt and survive by catering like completely to indie developers.
Yeah.
Because at that point you've got a huge market on AAA on one piece of hardware. So Sony already caters to indie developers a lot. I think they would do it even more so and position themselves as the destination for indie games.
So here's the question. It wasn't written down, but which do you think would be more likely to strike a deal with Nintendo, and which one would Nintendo be more likely to strike a deal with? Which one would be more likely to get Nintendo?
I think Sony would, because they're both Japanese companies, and they've at least discussed partnerships in the past where Nintendo completely rejected them. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I agree. I think that Sony would be more likely to get the partnership. But is that actually going to happen?
Well, Nintendo sales are down.
Yep.
Sony would be the more likely partner, so could it ever happen? I'd say no. Nintendo practically has like free money, like unlimited R&D funding. Yeah. They have this enormous storehouse that has been saved because they've been a successful part of the industry for so long that their company isn't like rocked by these waves of consoles.
No.
They're not going to be put out of business by the Wii U. The NX is going to be out like a year or two from now at the most, and then this will be a completely different story.
Yeah.
If they have unsuccessful hardware, it's just a matter of a couple of years, and then they're switching tactics. And Nintendo's always targeted their gamers. They're not like sitting in a conference room bummed out right now that the Call of Duty and Halo and Uncharted players aren't on their system.
Yeah.
They've got their own market, so
they don't care.
They make their consoles to be played in the living room settings, and I just don't think that would translate at all to one of these other consoles. And
I agree.
It would feel out of place on one of the competitor systems.
I agree. You pointed out that Nintendo has basically unlimited money. It's old money. It's not going anywhere. Nintendo has a 100-year history. We already talked about that. They're not going anywhere. I don't think they're even going anywhere in video games as far as I'm concerned, as far as selling out or stopping completely. They're definitely not going to sell their company. There's so much more to Nintendo than video games that's pretty much out of the question.
I mean, just like one of Nintendo's brands is probably more valuable than Xbox.
Yeah, like the Mario brand. Yeah, it's
like second ridiculous to Mickey Mouse or something.
Seriously, Mario is one of the most recognizable characters, probably behind only Mickey Mouse right now.
Yep.
Kyle Bossman from Game Trailers said that Nintendo could release 6 more failed consoles and still have the money to keep going. Stuff that bombed as bad as the Wii U bombed.
Like 30 years of failures.
Yeah, think about that.
Longer than Nintendo has been making video games.
Yes, 30 years of straight up failures, no successful systems, bombs, and it's Nintendo's money is not dependent on sales. They're going to find a way to fix this. They're like, it's not like, oh my goodness, my arm fell off, I have to fix this now. If I don't fix this now, I'm going to die. Yeah. No, it's like oh, I got a cut on my pinky. What Band-Aid can I put on it?
Yeah.
They're not rushing. They're not freaking out. There's nothing big about this. They just got to put the Band-Aid on and heal, and it'll be over.
Start creating amiibo.
Yeah. So I think they've learned what happens when they partner with other companies. That's why they turned Sony down, because we have the CDI and we have Tom Selleck Mario.
Yeah.
And they're just signs of Nintendo should stay first party. I don't think that there's going to be anything in the near future, at least. Nothing in the near future.
Nintendo barely even partners with third parties.
I don't
think
right?
they think too highly of. I mean, just being completely honest, I think that they make their consoles and their games because they love to make those things together, and that's what Nintendo's about.
Yeah, and it's taken them forever just to warm up to indies.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but it may happen in like 50 years or something, or 25 years at the soonest.
So check back with us in 25 to 50 years. We'll go ahead and schedule that episode now.
Yes.
Tap, tap, tap.
We'll be eating our hats, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the crew.
Don't forget to like, to comment, to subscribe, and most of all, to share if you liked what you saw or were informed by this topic.
See you next time.
Signing out.